Yo, what is going on, Senpai Squad? Welcome back to my first ever chapter review for chapter 1 of Tokyo Shinobi Squad. Now, if you haven't read this manga yet, I highly recommend you go do it. It is a brand spanking new in Weekly Shonen Jump. I think it's got a lot of promise. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. But if you have gone and read it, then the question of the day for you guys is, what did you think of it? What are your first impressions of Tokyo Shinobi Squad? Because boy, has it sparked a ton of controversy. So I'm going to read the synopsis to you guys for those of you who haven't read it. So it's Tokyo 2049. Thanks to the Galapagos reform enacted by the government, Russia, China, America and Japan are now connected by a hyperloop system. This globalization has turned Tokyo into the most crime-ridden city in the world. To fight the rising crime, those who have been working in the shadows since the Sengoku period are needed. They are the Shinobi. Now, straight off the bat, I'm sure some of you guys can see where some of the complaints, or in fact, a lot of the complaints are coming from. And that is the fact that the premise does seem slightly xenophobic. And what I've got to say about that is, honestly, I can somewhat understand what you mean, okay? I would, in most circumstances, probably agree with you if it wasn't for the fact that this is a fictional story. It's make-believe. It's written for entertainment. It's not the only one of its kind. It's not the only dystopian story ever to grace the world, okay? So I don't agree with some of the complaints, although I see where they're coming from. I think people are trying to make something out of nothing. One of my favourite things actually about this series, or at least the first chapter, is the power system. So it's called Ninpo, and it's basically your casual, average shonen superpower. Basically, your quirk, your jutsu, your magic ability, whatever it is. That's essentially what it is. But what I like most about it is, to learn a type of Ninpo, you have to have a scroll. So picture Naruto. He steals the Shadow Clone Jutsu scroll. It's got how to learn it on that scroll. That's basically how you learn Ninpo. There's multiple scrolls. Each one has a certain Ninpo on it. For example, you know, I know there's a boxing one, an echo sound one, a gravity one, all that type of stuff. And one of the favourite things about the story, or the way they portrayed it in the chapter, was the fact that they would go into a tiny little bit of detail about each Ninpo. But my favourite part about it was that it actually gave a rough estimate on how long it takes to learn that bit of Ninpo. So for example, there's like basic blood iron techniques, which it said most people can learn it within a year. It's pretty easy to do so. However, the one downfall that makes it difficult is that a lot of the people can't handle it and they can't deal with the loss of blood or that type of thing. It was something like that. And then there was another one where it was saying it takes an estimate, I think it was the main character Jin's one, it takes an estimate of 5 years to learn and master. I thought all of that was a really interesting, fresh and easy way to get to grips with a power system. Another thing I loved a ton was the constant references to Western culture. For example, there was a villain whose Ninpo was to do with hitting punches and boxing. He was coloured, he had boxing gloves on, and he was called Mayweather, obviously based on the actual Floyd Mayweather. Then there was a woman whose Ninpo was echo sound, and it was to do with her voice, and she had the same hairstyle as the extremely famous pop singer Sia. I believe her name was actually Cena in this, but she was quite clearly, obviously, based on actual Sia. And lastly, there was actually a name drop and mention of Justin Bieber, and the fact that there was a rumour that the main character Jin had something to do in a Justin Bieber incident. So I'm actually quite interested to see what that actually is, because by the sounds of it, did this main character kill or have play some sort of hand in killing Justin Bieber? That's a sentence I didn't think I'd say in a manga review. I would say there was one moment in the manga that completely shifted my perception on it. And that was when the main bad guy of the chapter, I can't quite remember his name, basically went psycho for a second and killed the stripper he was with. He just used his ninpo, just stabbed her straight through the guts and just let her hang there. I thought that was, and considering the premise of it, I understand the premise of it is, like I said, it's very controversial, a little bit edgy, you could say, but I didn't think it would actually be as dark as it was on that panel. I think that was the bit where it solidified and made me sit back and go, oh, okay, you mean business then, don't you? On the topic of xenophobia, nationalism, one of the things I actually enjoyed kind of regarding that in this chapter was the fact that the main underdog, the little kid, the damsel in distress type character that needed saving and was new, blah, 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 and kind of played as our eyes in this as a newcomer to the city, to the power system, to all this, was a Thai child. I can't remember if it was a male or female, but I enjoyed it because he was a Thai child, and in a state of nationalism and xenophobia that the story's been based upon, he was very easily accepted into the society, or at least in Jin and all of his friends, his Shinobi squad. I really enjoyed that, and I think one of the things that I like about it is that it's tackling actual potential real world issues, but obviously exaggerated by ×10 because it's a fictional story. I saw one person say that Shinobi squads are basically the KKK, and honestly, just get in the bin, mate. Just get in the bin. Can't we just enjoy a fictional series about kids with colourful hair and superpowers fighting each other? Is that really too difficult? Jin, our main character, has basically been revealed that he's a sort of prodigy within the world. He was famous. He reminded me a little bit of Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Obviously, Edward became a state alchemist at a young age and kind of gained a name for himself as the Full Metal Alchemist, and Jin seems to be having that similar sort of fame about him, being a very young, talented, prodigious shinobi. Honestly, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something about the series which just gives me slight Tokyo Ghoul vibes. Let me know if any of you guys got a similar sort of feeling, or if there's any other series out there which you kind of get a certain vibe from with this manga. Also, one thing I want to quickly mention to any aspiring manga artist or whatever who's actually out there, the amount of hype, and the sole reason I'm actually reviewing Tokyo Shinobi Squad is because when the main character Jin's design was revealed about a month ago, when this series was first announced to be coming to Weekly Shonen Jump, everybody, I'm talking everybody, went crazy over it, and that's why it's got such a jump start in Shonen Jump compared to the other couple series that started this weekend who, quite frankly, not really anyone's been talking about. And that just goes to show the importance, as stupid as it sounds, of having a cool looking designed main character. Honestly, can go a long way. I never really thought about it until I see all the hype around this series a month before the chapter even dropped. So yeah, just something for you aspiring artists, story makers, fictional writers, manga artists, whatever. Keep that in mind when you start your next piece of work. Now, the main issue I have with this manga, and it pains me, it honestly pains me to say this, but for some reason, there's just something about it that just screams, I'm talking is screaming at the top of its lungs for cancellation. It just feels like one of those series for some reason that Shonen Jump will just love to axe. I honestly dread to think about it. I don't want that to be the case, but I saw some other people saying it, and there's just something about it just feels like it's going to be axed. The author who's writing this, it's the first time he's ever been serialized. I think he's done a couple of one-shots in the past, but this is his first proper series, and I don't know why, but I get a Hungry Joker vibe that for some reason it's going to get cancelled early on. I really hope it isn't, because like I said, I enjoyed chapter 1. Jin, I like him. Power of friendship, you know what, I don't mind the power of friendship. Sometimes he can get a little bit overused. He's got a cool design. I like the premise. I really hope it doesn't get cancelled, but there's just something about it that makes me think it will. But with all that out of the way, like I said, I did enjoy it. Can't wait for more. Let's just try not to get too political and just enjoy the manga. It's that simple. honestly. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, leave the thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Make sure to answer the comment section question of the day. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already to become a member of the Senpai Squad. And I'll be seeing you guys in another video. But until then, peace.